All right, who's had a good week? Flat out week, average week? 5 out of 10? 10 out of 10. 6. 1 out of 10. Tough week, Sol. What I'm going to talk to you guys today about is building, the most boring topic in the world. Yeah. Now, we've got some pretty good builders here today. We've got the Frews, got a few others. That's all. Now, one of the key principles of building is working out how to keep the roof up. So how do we do that? So we try and understand forces and loads, like how heavy something is, what the force is going to act against it, to it, whatever. And so how are we going to keep the building structure going? How are we going to keep the floor up? How are we going to keep the roof up? So these are key building principles. Now, there's a few types of loads. Can you guys come up with one? What would act as a load on a building? Come on, Sol. Okay. I'll give you examples. So the weight of the building, they call a dead load. So that's the weight of the building. Weight of the concrete, weight of the roof, weight of the pavements, all those things, dead loads. Now, there's also live loads. Can you give me an example of what would a live load in a building be? A person, that's right. So a good example of a live load would be Pastor Andrew having to climb on the roof to get a football down. It's a live load. Pastor Grant jumping on the font cover listening to Run DMC. Live load. So you've got to take all these loads into consideration. And the way we offset all these things is pick the right building materials and the right connections. So can you give me an example of some building material? Metal. Concrete. People aren't building materials unless you're in the mafia. Yeah. Sorry? We'll stop that way. We'll come back to this way over here. Now, in the Bible, there's a specific passage that the Lord's talking about buildings. Now, it's in Matthew 7, 24, 25. It says, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash." Now, Jesus was a carpenter. What was he talking about here? Was he talking about building?
No, he's talking about faith.
That's right. So, and the way I like to unpack it is, what's rock good for? What's rock good for? Support. Yeah. So it's really good in compression. Takes being able to distribute all those loads from the roof down through to it. Now, you can do that with sand as well, but you've got to keep it really tightly constrained. And what would happen if water came running through, like in the subsoil under that sand?
A rock is also good at
Lifting weights? Or holding weights up?
lifting weights.
Yeah? If it's expanding, we've got problems. In the rock. Other soils will expand and contract.
Science or what?
This is you learning something, son. Yeah. So so Jesus is talking about, getting your foundations right. Yeah. Now, I want you guys to give me an example, and then I'll give you one. So, what would an example of what Jesus is talking about getting our foundations right? Build our faith on Him. Yeah. Good cliche. Nice work. That's right. That's fundamentally right. So a good example is, Jesus teaches us to be kind to others. And when we do that, usually they'll stick around in the hard times for us. So, there's good practical examples of this. Now, I've got a challenge for you guys. You're going to take it back to your seats so the rest of the crew can get on. You got to build me a structure. It could be a house, it could be a bridge, it can be any of those things during the sermon. Second part of this deal is you got to put the rubbish back in the bag I give you. Deal? These. So marshmallows and jellies and kebab sticks.
Can I just eat them?
Not till you built something, not till you put the rubbish back in the bag.
I've got.
And you can also negotiate that with your parents.
I need two. Yes,
You need
I've got
two?
Yes,
Okay.
I need two. I'm building.
There you go. Another one? Okay. Thanks, guys.